Emily Carter wasn't looking for anything extraordinary when she purchased the old Victorian home on Hollow Hill. The price was a steal, and as a young artist, she was drawn to the house's charm, the creaky wooden floors, the arched windows, and the expansive attic that would serve as her studio. Locals whispered about the house being haunted, but Emily brushed off the warnings. Ghost stories didn't pay the bills, and this house was her chance to finally have a space of her own. The first night in the house, Emily unpacked in silence. The ticking of the antique grandfather clock in the hallway was the only sound, punctuated by the occasional groan of the house settling. As she settled into bed, she heard soft footsteps echoing above her in the attic. Emily froze, her heart pounding. She remembered locking the attic door after bringing in her art supplies earlier. Grabbing a flashlight, she cautiously climbed the stairs. The attic door was still locked. Convinced it was her imagination, she returned to bed, telling herself it was just the house's old wooden beams creaking in the wind. Unexplainable events over the next week. Small things began to happen. Her paintbrushes moved to different spots, faint whispers drifted through the house at odd hours, and the air always felt colder in certain rooms. One afternoon, as Emily worked on a painting, her radio suddenly turned on by itself. Static filled the room before the dial twisted on its own, landing on an old tune she didn't recognize. "Hello?" she called out, her voice shaky. The static stopped abruptly, leaving her in an eerie silence. The incidents escalated. Doors slammed shut without warning, the lights flickered even though the wiring had been inspected, and the faint sound of a child's laughter echoed down the hallway at night. The discovery determined to get to the bottom of the strange occurrences, Emily visited the town library. She learned that the house had a dark history. It once belonged to the Hollow family, whose youngest child, Lily, disappeared without a trace over a century ago. Shortly after, the family abandoned the home, claiming it was cursed. Emily returned home with a growing unease. She began noticing a pattern. Most of the activity occurred around the attic. She decided to investigate further. The attic's secret. Late one night, armed with a flashlight and a crowbar, Emily pried open a floorboard in the attic that felt loose. Beneath it, she found a small, dust-covered box. Inside were a locket, a porcelain doll, and a faded photograph of a little girl with hauntingly pale eyes. The air in the attic grew icy, and Emily felt a presence behind her. She turned quickly, but nothing was there. "Lily," she whispered, clutching the locket. The door slammed shut, and the attic was plunged into darkness. Emily's flashlight flickered, revealing a shadowy figure standing in the corner, a small girl holding the same porcelain doll from the box. A plea for help. The girl didn't move but raised a finger to her lips in a shushing gesture. Then, in a faint, echoing voice, she said, "Help me." Emily's fear gave way to pity. "What happened to you?" she asked, her voice trembling. The girl pointed toward the floorboards and then vanished. Emily spent the next hour pulling up the planks, uncovering a hidden compartment. Inside was a small skeleton, wrapped in a decayed blanket. A wave of sadness washed over her as she realized the truth. Lily had been trapped here, forgotten and left to die. The restless spirit. After calling the authorities, Emily thought the haunting might stop. But instead, the activity worsened. Lily's spirit grew more erratic, her cries echoing through the house, her shadow darting through rooms. One night, as Emily painted in the living room, the canvas began to bleed with black paint, forming the words, "They're still here." Emily felt a cold breath on her neck and spun around. The lights flickered violently, and the house groaned as though alive. Confronting the darkness, Emily realized Lily wasn't the only spirit in the house. Something darker had kept Lily trapped. Following the clues, Emily found an old journal hidden in the library. It belonged to the Hollow family patriarch, who had dabbled in occult practices. The journal detailed rituals meant to bind restless spirits to the house, trapping them forever. Armed with this knowledge, Emily prepared a cleansing ritual to free Lily. She lit candles and recited passages she found in the journal, hoping to break the curse. The house fought back. Shadows swirled around her, whispers turned to screams, and objects flew across the room. But Emily pressed on, holding the locket tightly. Freedom and peace. As she finished the ritual, a deafening silence fell over the house. The oppressive weight lifted, and the warm light filled the room. Lily appeared once more, her form now radiant and peaceful. She smiled at Emily before fading away. The house grew still, its haunting presence gone. For the first time since moving in, Emily felt safe. Though she stayed in the house, Emily never forgot Lily or the horrors she uncovered. She kept the locket on her desk as a reminder of the little girl who only wanted to be found.